Hi everyone, welcome back to Listen Up with Sim and Isha, where we dive into real conversations about life, personal growth, and everything in between. Today, we have an exciting episode lined up for you, so turn up the volume and listen up. Hi everyone, welcome back to Listen Up with Sim and Isha. So we are finally here with our third episode. And before we begin, I want to
Right.
thank everyone for tuning in to our episodes and loving them so much. Thank you so much for showing your love to us. And we are really, really
Thank you.
excited to dive in today. Simran, today we're talking about career.
What
Okay,
to do with my life?
what to
The
do?
question. Yes.
Exactly. The biggest question I think there is, like last time we were talking about our life in 20s, biggest question of
Mhm.
20s is what to do with your career. But let's go back in
Yes.
time a little. What did you want to be when you were a kid? What was your dream job?
Everyone's gonna laugh when they hear it. But I wanted to be an Egyptologist. So it's basically an archaeologist, but they specialize in ancient Egyptian history. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do. What
Wow,
about you?
interesting. Okay,
Mm,
when I was a kid, I think I used to have this connection with my teachers, and I used to really look up to them. Like as a kid, all the students do, right? Maybe being a teacher is something that gives you that personality. So becoming a teacher was one of the dreams that I have when I was a kid.
Oh, that's so cool. A lot of people ask me also on my page, what do I do and what's my career and like what do I, like what is the work that I do?
Yeah.
So as I said in my previous episodes, I own a social media marketing business right now, and I'm growing my community and launching my community and all these things. But I actually started as a dancer. I was a professional dancer for like almost, I think, 7 or 8 years of my life, actually. It was a very interesting time of my life. I did that till I was, I think, 22 or something. And then after that, I decided to continue pursuing my master's because I realized that phase of my life is now shifted. I got into a university in Milan for fashion and luxury, but the marketing side. And I did my marketing degree from there. And after that, I worked in a jewelry company in their marketing team for, I think, around 2 or 3 years. I actually got offered a job in India, and I got back to India in 2019 because I got a very good job with a very good company. For somebody who was working in fashion, it was a very good company. So I thought this would be like a step up for me. But 3 months into the job, I hated it. My work environment was toxic. My boss was toxic. I quit the job, and then came the pandemic. And I was stuck in a pandemic with no job, no prospects, not knowing what to do with my life. And it was not a very easy time for me. Cut to now, where I am running a full on business and I'm very happy with it. But yeah, I think that was how my career graph went.
I think your career has been very diverse. Very similar
Okay.
to mine in terms of industry.
Yeah.
Like I also had like very shifting careers. So I
Mm-hmm.
started out as an engineer, and I worked in a company for about a year as an engineer. And I was, although my role was most on the business side of the company, so I was a little intrigued, and that's when I decided to pursue my master's in MBA in
Mm-hmm.
finance. So from
Oh,
engineering to
nice.
finance, I made that switch, and then I finally got a job in the finance industry with a very renowned company. I was back in Bangalore for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
I was very happy in
Mhm.
the job. The job was very satisfying, and the culture was good. Then
Yeah.
somehow my life panned out differently. Again, nothing goes as per the plan. I thought this was like my job. I was gonna switch it up, but I had to come back home. Family circumstances arose. I had to take that decision, and because that was my priority at the point, so I took that decision and I
Mhm.
left my job.
I mean, I completely resonate. Life never goes as per plan.
So after about a year being at home and not working like as a job, I decided to
Yeah.
start coaching students because I had both finance and engineering experience. So my dream
Nice.
of becoming a teacher is not exactly a teacher, but yeah, I'm still coaching
Okay.
students, working with students in Jalandhar city. I'm still finding my
Nice.
footing as a coach, but I love it.
So, if there's one thing I can take from both of us, is that there is no one timeline or one way to
Exactly.
find and have a career, right? Like, I think that's one thing you can see from both our journeys. Like, you're 27, I'm 28, and we've done different degrees, we've done different stuff. Because when you meet somebody new, the first thing that somebody will ask you is like, "Hi, what's your name?" And you'll be like, "Hi, I'm Simran." And this next question, most of the times, is, "What do you do?" That is literally the second question 90% of the times people ask you. And you say, "Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a social media marketer, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach." And then what happens is we start telling ourselves that our identity, or that is who we are. Like, without being a doctor, without being a social media marketer, without that, we are not really anything. Because people, literally, that's how society is conditioned, that they make you
I know.
believe that there is only one career for the rest of your life. That means you become a doctor and then you stay a doctor for the rest of your life. This used to work in our parents' time. What do you think? Like, when our parents were younger, like,
Yeah,
that was a
true.
different era. I
Yeah.
feel right now, in the world that we're living in, it doesn't work like that. Like, it's no longer enough to just like have one thing, and you can be
Yeah.
okay with it. But I don't think it's like that anymore. Like, our careers have changed so much, and the way we are has changed so much, as people.
I think, like I was saying, something or the other in your career, like something keeps pulling at you. If something, a new thought keeps pulling at you. What our parents have done
Mhm.
in their time or the generation before us used to do, they just thought of one decision, they made that decision. Actually, they're driven with this ideology. What will people say? So they make
Mm.
one decision in their career and they stick to it for the rest of their life. Also, most of the times, what will people say if they change? We as individuals in our generation are driven with a different question. What do I want?
Yeah.
So that keeps
Yes.
changing. That does keep changing.
Yes.
So I want to be, you wanted to be a dancer at a certain point. You wanted to change to
Yeah.
fashion. And now you are a social media and like you teach people how to handle their social media. So like that
Yeah.
transition is very, very different, but that's what keeps pulling you, right? To me as well. Like right
Hmm.
now, there are strings pulling at me that, okay, writing has been your passion, reading has been your passion. Why don't you try it? What is the
Yeah.
loss? Where it's what's the
Uh-huh.
harm? If you do
Hmm.
not, like if you don't do it, how will you know? That's it. Like, how will you know what will become of it?
Your career is not your purpose. Finding your purpose is such an overrated statement,
I know.
because I used to be like, I need to find what I want to do with my life. I need to find my purpose. And I used to kind of beat myself up for not wanting to do just one thing. I was a kid who never felt like I just want to do this thing. I always wanted to do like five things together. And because I felt like I could.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a blessing and a curse in disguise, because I did not connect all the time with the usual status quo of things. I still remember I had a tuition teacher in school who was just like, Simya, so like I was taking up commerce in college, and I was a brilliant kid, and she's like, "You're a brilliant kid. You should go to science." And I said, "But I don't connect with anything in science. Like, I don't want to do it." But she was like, "No, but you're a smart kid. You should go there." So I feel like it's so important sometimes to also understand that your career and your purpose are not the same thing.
Same.
And because you can, like, I have changed my career three times, and I'm just 28. If you ask me in like 5 years from now, I'll be doing probably something else. But this is the kind of personality type I am, which is multi passionate, is what I've realized. And there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is when you start telling yourself that, oh, I have to stick to one thing, or like, why can't I stick to one thing? Or you start kind of,
Yeah.
blaming yourself for things. I realized my purpose is helping. Whatever I've done in my life, whether I was dancing, I was teaching people to dance, or dancing myself, whether I was in my jewelry business and I was doing marketing, sorry, in the jewelry company in Milan, I was helping. Wherever I went, I felt the most fulfilled right now with the work I'm doing is when I help someone. When I help someone hit a target in their work, or I help somebody be a better person or feel better about their heartbreak, so that is what I realized. So yeah, I truly feel like your career and purpose don't have to always be
Yeah.
the same thing. And that's why your career can keep changing and pivoting.
Changing. I think I agree with you. Even for me, I think the biggest thing that I have right now with me is I want to do something. Maybe the reason we did this podcast also is that we do something that has an impact, that helps
Yeah.
somebody. Somehow we can guide someone. Somehow we can tell someone it's okay to not know where your career is. So at
Hmm.
27, I am kind of starting or figuring out my career again. And I'm okay
Hmm.
with that thought. I'm very
Yeah.
okay with that thought. People around me are not. I know that. But I am okay with that thought in myself that it's okay.
Hmm.
And because I know I am someone who will figure it out, right? So
Hmm.
that thought, that belief, I've instilled in myself, and that is something that we have to learn to like keep
Hmm.
telling ourselves that you're gonna be okay.
One of the questions I get all the time on my page is, Simran, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know which career to take. I've just
Mm,
finished my master's. I've just finished my degree. I don't
mm,
know what I want to do.
okay.
And I always ask them that, okay, what it is that you want to do? What do you like? What are your passions and, whatever, ambitions? And the
Mm,
girl or the guy usually responds and tells me, oh, you know what, Sim, I want to do this. But I also want to do that. And I also want to do this. I'm very confused that how do I choose between the three? And
mm,
I always tell them that, A, that you don't have to always make just one choice. You don't always have to, put yourself in a box, like meaning if you decide today you want to be a doctor, you're going to be a doctor for the rest of your life.
mm,
No, it doesn't work like that. The best thing that I think you can do in that point is put down those three things and give yourself timelines to pursue those things. So,
yeah.
for example, there was a girl, she was studying, I think, in medicine, something I think she was based in Delhi, if I'm not wrong. And her father wanted her to pursue that. She wanted to pursue writing, and she wanted to pursue, more into the writing and more into the space of content creation and stuff like that. And she was like, Sim, I want to do that. My dad wants me to do this. And I don't know what to do. I like both these things. I'm like, why do you have to choose? I did my dance along with my bachelor's degree. I did my bachelor's degree from NM, which is one of the most difficult colleges in Bombay. If you know anything about Bombay, they are very difficult when it comes to studying. They are not at all indulgent of extracurricular activities or anything.
Yeah,
But
I'm from
I
NM
pursued
too.
my dance. You're from an, oh my God, Isha, I had no idea. So you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And
Yeah.
it was such a, I remember the principal literally telling me, why you in this college? Like, I'm like, because I want to do this and I want to do that. And there's
That.
nothing like, the US has something called liberal arts, which is not
Mm,
there in our country.
mm,
So where you can decide to do different topics completely together and get a
mm,
degree in that. But you can't do that in India. There is nothing like a dance school. It's not even looked like, I think in the last 5 years, people look at it as a career, but it's really, really new for our
no,
country.
I know. Mm,
Like I was doing ballet when people didn't know how to spell ballet. I'm talking like 12 years ago. So there was a lot of turmoil, but I knew that I wanted to pursue both those things. It was harder because I had to juggle both worlds. But eventually I realized which one I want to go with more and which one I don't want to go with. So be okay to experiment. Give yourself six
yeah.
months, 1 year to experiment with something. If you don't like it, you can always pivot into something else.
I completely agree. Like, jump in, take the plunge, do
Mhm.
something. Even if it's not paying you at the moment, do something with your career. Like, if you don't know what you want to do, take up an internship, take up a job in an organization that's doing that work. Work under someone. Don't get paid for it, but you'll learn something. It lead to something else. I think that's what I've learned with my people around me. That's what I give
Mhm.
advice to my younger siblings as well. Like, if you don't know, if you're
Mhm.
not sure what you want to do with your career, just jump into the first thing that you really like, and then we can take it
Yeah,
from there. Like, do that.
exactly. Yeah.
Don't keep thinking, because that is not taking you anywhere. Take that
Yeah,
step, move in one direction. We can pivot later. We can change the direction later.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you're not married to your career.
Yes.
You're
And
married
if
to
you
a
are
person, you're not married to
married
your
to
career.
your career, and your career is not your only identity, it is one of the identity.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And that you are more than just what you
Yeah.
do. You are way
Exactly.
more than that. There's so much in you, even if people don't identify it or not, you need to be able to recognize it. I gave a talk at a university in Bombay, and in that university, like one of the exercises I made the kids do is was like introduce yourself. So they all introduced themselves. There were like 10 kids who introduced themselves. And I'm like, okay, now do it again with your name and not telling me what you do, which degree you're doing, which school you are from, which city you live in. You can't tell me any of that, but you need to introduce yourself. And they all went around the room and they were like, Sim, I just don't know what to say. Like, what do we say? Like,
Yeah.
isn't your introduction that? Like, they were like, I don't know what to say. When I asked them to give a normal introduction, they were like, Pa, hi, I'm this, I live in this, I've done this degree, I want to be this, blah, blah, blah. When I was like, don't use what you do, where you come from, and now introduce yourself, they had a hard time
Blank.
introducing themselves.
Complete blanks.
because they didn't know who they were.
Yeah, yeah,
You can rewrite your story the way you want to write it, but you need to
yeah.
know yourself to write your story.
True.
Don't let other people tell you that, oh, you're this or you're that or you're this. You can
Yeah.
decide what you want or what you think you are. And that is your identity. You create your identity. So yeah.
Something as simple as, I love eating gulab jamun is also my identity. And I love eating gulab
Yes.
jamun. That is true to me, right? And it is always going to be. So something as
Yes.
simple as that is also your identity. And if you're okay, if you're happy with your career, if you know what you want to do, that is good
Yeah.
for you. That is actually, just don't go changing it or experimenting things because everybody around is doing it. Like that's not how
Ooh, I
because
love
sometimes
that.
like there are people who are genuinely happy in their careers, but then because everybody
Yeah.
around is changing the job, everybody's switching careers, and then some of my
Mm.
friends would come to me and they're like, maybe shift kar lo kya? I'm like, Kyun? You are happy?
क्योंकि
Like, why?
the herd
Why?
mentality. Yeah.
Exactly. Sab kar rahe hain, Isha.
Yeah.
I saw on LinkedIn 10 people have changed their jobs. So you are happy, you're happy with
So,
your.
yeah.
Exactly. Like you have to be, you just don't have to know what you do, but you have to actually be
Yeah.
happy with, if you're happy with what you're doing, you have to know that too. Like that is also a conversation.
Oh, for
That,
sure. Your career graph is yours alone to create. Like, you
exactly.
don't have to do it just because, like, there was this period I remember. Now, I work as a social media marketer. That means I mostly work remotely. I don't have an
Mm,
office. I work from home. I travel when I want to because I can. And I work from any part of the world, right? Now, this is something which people often tell me, wow, you're living the dream, Simran. Wow, what an amazing life. I said, everything is greener on the other
on the
side.
other
The
side.
grass is
True.
always greener. I know how much I have to go through when I do this and that I'm built for something like this. Not everybody is built for this, right? And there was a point where I saw people were leaving their jobs to try and do remote work and start their businesses. And they were like, you know what, we'll start our
Yeah,
own thing. We want to make our own money. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying don't do it just because you see the glamour of anything. Anything.
exactly.
Behind the glamour, there is always going to be hard work. Whether you work for yourself, whether you work for a boss, whether you don't work, you're still going to be facing struggle. So,
True.
yeah, don't just fall for the glamour of a job or like glamour of, what you
Completely.
want.
I agree. Entrepreneurship right now as a word is so glamorized. Being
Oh,
an
yeah.
entrepreneur, creating content, social media content, and being an entrepreneur is a hard job. You have to stick with it when nobody's praising you. It's a hard job,
Yeah,
but
it's a hard
nobody
job.
talks about that, right?
I think one thing that's coming to me as we're speaking is it's never too late to start over. It's
Yeah,
never at any age, any time, any career. The right time to do something doesn't exist.
I know.
You have to create that time for yourself.
Timing, true.
You have a choice and you can start over at any point. You're always one decision away from a completely different life.
True.
But you have to make that decision towards that life
Yeah,
and stop getting so attached to just your career or just the success that you've seen in your career. Be okay with starting something new. Be okay, like we're doing today. We've started a nice podcast. It's what, episode 3 today,
three.
and we
Yeah,
got into such incredible conversation, right?
yeah, I know. And again, just going back to what you said, you don't know what it will be unless you find out. So
Yeah,
listen
yeah.
up and find out.
Great. So thank you so much. I think we discussed so many good things today.
I
Anyone who's
know.
listening, appreciate you being here. If you have any suggestions or feedback for us, please tell us. We would love to know. And we're looking forward to seeing you in our next episode and keep listening. That's a wrap for today's episode of Listen Up with Sim and Isha. Hope you enjoyed the conversation and make sure to like and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay tuned and listen up.